Hello, my name is Andrew Thake. I'm a divisional director with Resourcing Tomorrow. Delighted to be joined today by Mike Placer, who's the sector lead for Mining Americas at Worley. Delighted you can join us today, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Mike, we're going to talk a little bit about the Capital Matters initiative that Worley has been behind. But to set the stage, why did Worley feel it was necessary to move beyond traditional consulting and establish the Capital Matters Group? And can you explain a little bit about what it's about? And also, since its inception, where has this roundtable series traveled to gather these industry insights?
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, I think it's no surprise to say that when it comes to capital projects and capital execution, the industry is suffering to what I would consider to be we're not doing well. I mean, I don't think I need to sugarcoat that. In terms of the ability of the industry to satisfy business cases, in terms of the ability of the industry to look at deliver projects on time and on schedule, we're not doing well. So we figure that this is something that is not going to be fixed by any one party. It's not going to be the owners, not going to be the OEMs, it's not going to be the engineering. We really needed to come together and ask the tough questions. What's not working? And the whole premise of Capital Matters is let's get together, let's bring some of leadership, let's bring people that have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in the matter, and ask those tough questions of what needs to change. And that's why we started. So we engage a lot of executives across the world. We had the pleasure of having some of our roundtables in many parts of the world. We started with Resourcing Tomorrow in London. From there, we moved to Riyadh. Recently spent time in PDAC in Canada. Now I'm in Santiago today, and we're going to do a similar session during CESCO week. And we still have plans to go to Peru and then go back and close it out in London. It's been a fantastic endeavor. It's been great to hear from these great leaders of what they think needs to change. And our goal is to develop a product that communicates that and go back to the market and explain it to people what needs to change. And then it's going to be to all of us to decide how we do that.
So if we acknowledge that our geological models are estimates, why do we continue to build rigid, multi-billion-dollar processing plants that lack the modularity to handle the inevitable 20% variance in ore grade or hardness?
Yeah, geology can be unpredictable, and that impacts design. That's well known. However, I think the more important question is why we accept that there isn't much we can do. The reason, in my opinion, is that the current system often values certainty on paper over the ability to adapt to real-world conditions and long-term project value. You're gonna keep hearing me talk about project value, the business case a lot, because I think somewhere in between the process we lose our grounds that we're doing this project because there is a value we expect to achieve. We're not doing the project because we need to do the project. Our funding models prefer certainty, even if only on paper. Engineering and construction managers often impose high costs for changes, and project owners frequently are more worried about small additions that can slowly increase costs than about the gradual loss of value. As a result, we often feel the need to commit to large and complex plans quite early, not necessarily because they are the best solutions, but because certainty and a clear cost are easier to finance and get contracts for. So what has been consistent through Capital Matters is that the conviction that the prevalence of inflexible project isn't just a technical issue. It reflects outdated governance and contracting practices that need to change. We seriously need to rethink our approach.
So in capital project workflows, are operators incentivized to optimize for the lowest initial capex, or are they empowered to defend the net present value, even if it requires higher upfront investment for long-term resilience?
Let's be honest, when it comes to spending money on projects, capital expenditure, CapEx, often gets a green light. At the same time, discussions about their long-term value, typically measured by net present value, tends to be overlooked beyond those early approval stages. In many project teams, the focus is primarily on getting immediate approvals, staying within budget, and pushing potential risks to the future. So beyond the initial approval, very few project team members feel they have the power to advocate for long-term value, even if that requires increasing upfront costs. So projects might get the green light today, but the real impact, whether it leads to success or failure, often doesn't become apparent until years later, long after the people who started the project have moved on. So what do I recommend? We need to start looking at design choices based on their overall value over time, not just the immediate cost. And we need to create the right contracting model and governance to promote and protect these long-term value discussions.
So when evaluating new technology like direct lithium extraction or automated hauling, are we currently pricing the risk of failure so high that we are inadvertently accepting the certainty of obsolescence by sticking with traditional methods?
That is a really good question. Mining often overlooks the important issue between the balance between embracing new ideas versus facing the reality of becoming outdated. While innovation risk tends to have well-defined limits that we can manage, obsolescence risk is a different beast. Once you're committed, it only compounds. Overlooking this reality isn't just a conservative choice, it is a costly oversight. Instead of welcoming new technologies early on, we tend to push them aside until we reach the design stage. Then years later, we end up trying to add some technologies to our system, usually under tight deadlines and a much higher cost than if we have adopted them sooner. A better strategy would be test new technologies on a smaller scale first. Leverage the philosophy of MVS, minimum value solutions. Focus on value while keeping costs down. Try to always keep several technology options open for a longer period. Last, focus on understanding the potential benefit of each solution, not just the risks. While the risk of trying new things can be managed, the risk of becoming outdated is much harder to escape once it takes hold. Ignoring this fact isn't just a cautious approach, it can be a very expensive mistake.
So who in mining companies is the ultimate guardian of the business case? And at what point in the project life cycle does the pressure to stay on schedule begin to override the discipline to stop or pivot the project when the economics shift?
Most people will say the owner is in control. However, in reality, it often feels like no one is truly making the decisions, especially once the construction phase picks up speed. There's a crucial moment between the planning stage and the actual construction phase when timelines becomes the main focus. Teams might hesitate to share any bad news, and a mindset that ignores the original business case can cloud judgment and ultimately lead to poor financial decisions. During this time, the initial business reasons for starting the project are often forgotten. During this time, the initial business reason for starting the project are often forgotten, but not surprisingly, the work keeps moving forward. The answer to this challenge is quite simple, though it might be uncomfortable for some. The original business case should always be front and center throughout all the project phases. To do that, we need to create real opportunities to pause and reassess the project direction. Additionally, leadership should create an environment that accepts temporary delays if they help protect the project's overall value. When a project starts to feel like it's out of control and can be stopped, it becomes less about making smart business choices and more about putting on a show, more like theater than strategy, when the only thing that matters is the audience and not the business.
And finally, Mike, for mining executives and project leads listening to this today who recognize those same bottlenecks within their own organizations? How can they play a tangible role in this capital matters movement to help flip the script on project delivery?
Many valuable lessons from past projects are hidden away in databases, if kept at all. Perhaps AI will help with that, but until now, we depend on the people who gain the experience, and people are always moving around. Because of this, every new project often feels like we're starting from scratch, as if we haven't learned from our past mistakes. One recurring theme in capital matters is that we need to create a governance model or structure that is accountable and empowered to protect the business case. And that's been, Andrew, that's been a very, very important discussion, that we recognize that no individual party can own the solutions to all of the things that need to change to get our industry back where it used to be, and perhaps make it a lot better than it has ever been. And that's that we need to not only allow each individual player that is always navigating their own silos, we need to create a structure that forces them to collaborate in a value-oriented mindset. And that's something that every executive we met have stated, that fact that we lose focus on the value too quickly.
Well, Mike, that's been really interesting listening to why Worley set up Capital Matters. At Resourcing Tomorrow, we're really proud to be playing a small role in supporting the initiative. We do wish you all the best and look forward to welcoming you to future Capital Matters leadership roundtables, both at our events, but also at other events around the world. Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing you there at the end of this year to close this program out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.